this program, but that's streaming to other channels. And then my app will tell me what we have watching over here. Mm-hmm. So, which I kind of prefer, because then it shows you like 2 people are watching, and you're like, oh, okay. And then on my feed, I'm like, times a lot. So, hey, Amazon, welcome back. Today, I'm so excited to talk to Anna Todd. I feel like I've been reading Anna Todd for so long, and I'm so excited to ask her questions about how she got started, what she's working on. So if you're new to Anna Todd, which you're probably not, you're going to love this one. So tune in or catch the replay here. Welcome, Anna. It's so lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Okay, so for the people that don't know you, that are just finding you, this hidden gem, by the way, how did it all begin? Because I know you've shared the story a few times all over the place, but it's such a great story because I remember reading Anna on Wattpad, which is like Kindle Vella, which we have here on Amazon. And you were my guilty pleasure. I would sneak away to read more of your books. And so then it's like to come full circle, like what, 10, 11 years later? It's wild.
Yeah, it's definitely been quite the journey for sure. So I've always been a reader, literally since I can remember. I've always read. I never really, I wish I had this story of like, I grew up wanting to be an author, but my dreams were very much smaller than that. I didn't even really have the kind of audacity to think I'm going to be an author someday. So I just stuck to reading, which was kind of my escape in life and just my hobby. And my friends were in books and it just was part of my life. I started reading on Instagram. They had, I think it was like 2012-ish, people were using Instagram as in the captions, they were like telling these stories, like a chapter or like, a couple hundred words in a caption. And I'm like, what is that? So then I would click on the profile and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like thousands of people writing these kind of mini stories on Instagram of all places. And this was like when my husband at the time was in the Army. I was home with a very, very young special needs child. The resources financially were very limited. So as much as I was a reader, it's not like I could go to a bookstore and buy a new book every week or multiple books every week. So the little bit of extra money I did have did go to books, but it definitely, financially for me was great to find all of these stories to read on Instagram. And then some of them started saying, oh, I'm going to start posting on Wattpad. And I'm like, another app? Like, I don't have like the bandwidth for another app on my phone, which now I'm like, thank God I did download Wattpad.
Yes.
I've also been sick for like 3 weeks. Not COVID, but I've been sick for like 3 weeks. But I promise I don't have COVID. I mean, not that you could get it anyway through the screen, but still.
No, it's okay.
Anyway, every time I cough, I'm like, I swear I don't have COVID. So anyway, I download Wattpad and I found this just entire, basically like treasure chest for me of all of these different kinds of stories, every genre, writers from all walks of life, students, mothers, teachers, just all like something about that, even though I knew a lot of self-published authors.
Sorry, Amazon's actually delivering right now. So sorry.
Story of my life.
Yes, right? And I'm like, don't you bark while I'm on my live. And Amazon comes and here it is. So
super pretty. Yeah. I'm like, I'm surprised I haven't gotten anything yet, but it's still early here. But so basically I was seeing all of these kind of in the indie world at the time, which I didn't really understand and I didn't know that much about aside from being a reader. I knew that a lot of them were moms and, wives and women just writing on the side and making money, but I wasn't involved in the world. I never thought about, doing it myself. So when I found Wattpad, I was like, wow, there's no, like, this is literally just for fun. Like all of these people that are writing, it wasn't like on, Amazon or any of these. I think it was even kind of right before the KU movement. It was just like, wow, I can click on a billion stories and read all of them. So I did that for a while. I read kind of silently there. And then I started having that feeling again that I had with romances on my Kindle or Nook or all the things. I don't know if I can say Nook, but all
Yeah.
the things. Um, where I felt like, even though it wasn't true, I felt like there was something missing. There was like and I love dark romance. I love angsty romance. But it just felt like no matter how great the book was, it just like, there was something where I was like, I wish it was like more. But then I realized that it was because I wanted to tell a story. But at the time I was just like, what is going on? I feel like I'm reading the same thing over and over. So I saw this photo of, hopefully some of you at least know who Harry Styles is, but I saw this photo of like a tattooed version of all of the guys in this band called One Direction. And I was like, it was just like one of those moments where I was like, this is how people get like that instant. It was like instant, like this story just kept, I was like, suddenly we're on a college campus and there's a girl and there's these guys and it just like, but then I was like, but that would be crazy to write that because I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write. I don't know where to start. And it wasn't like, I didn't even think at the time of people reading it. I just thought like, technically, how on earth am I going to like form a paragraph? Um, so I pretty much that day was like, you know what? Who cares? No one's going to read it. No one's going to know. I don't have to tell anyone. I can just write this. And literally, it's Wattpad. It's going to go into like the abyss of all the other millions of stories on there, and no one's going to find out. I wrote the first chapter and just felt like a release. Like I had so much going on at home with my son and his medical stuff and my husband at the time in the army and just all this stuff that I was like, it felt like the first time that my brain shut off, even though it was working, but it was like, there was no laundry, there were no dishes, there were no like bottles to be made or medicine to get. It was like, I just totally escaped, which is why I love reading so much, is for that same reason. So I was like, oh, that was really fun. And then I did it again and I did it again. And no one was reading it. I just was like, this is so just mentally so good for me at the time, especially. It just totally changed my daily life. So I did that for a while. And at first, of course, no one read it, but I didn't care. I just was like, this is fun. And then no one still is exactly sure what happened. Like we all like have our own theories of like, was it just the internet that spread it or what happened? But basically it just kept growing and growing and growing online and more people were reading it and all this. And then it just, here we are with books and films and blah, blah, blah. But it strictly came from just like passion and my love of romance.
Wow. So looking back, would you have done anything differently?
I definitely wouldn't have been as embarrassed. Like, I wish I wouldn't have been so hard on myself. Like, when it came to telling my friends and family, I really thought, like, I have no business be thinking I can be a writer. So there were so many times where I thought like, this is so like, cause I was always on my phone and on Wattpad at the time, especially mostly people were using their phones. So I wish I wouldn't have been so worried about like, people are going to think this is crazy or weird, especially with the fan fiction element. Like, I wish I would have realized that most of the books that I loved are actually fan fiction. So I just wish I would have like let myself enjoy it, even though I enjoyed the writing process, but the like aftermath and the daily life, I wish I would have been like more proud of myself and gotten to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm doing this and I don't care what you people think. But at the time I was really hard on myself. And the more popular it got, for some reason, the more I thought, oh my God, all these people are going to find out that I can't write and didn't graduate college and I don't even know what I'm doing. So that would probably be the only thing. I wouldn't change anything else. I wish I would have like let myself enjoy it more than torturing myself.
I think you said in a panel recently at an event that you loved producing more than writing. Is that true?
Yeah, to be honest. Yeah. Well, yes, because with producing, you get to also tell a story and work on a story and bring it to life. But with writing, I am such a like I mean, technically very extremely manic person. So I overanalyze, I overthink. I just feel like it takes so much. Like when I was writing on Wattpad, there's no pressure because it's like no one's going to read it. It was the financial stability of my family wasn't up to my writing. It was just a hobby and an outlet. Fortunately, I know I'm in the like 1% of us writers who can actually live off of writing. So I definitely don't take that for granted. But there is a level with producing where it's like, I just feel like all of my kind of gut instincts, and I'm a very like gut driven person, like even if to my own detriment, if I have a bad feeling about something, I'm like, I know this is wrong, I know this is right. And with producing, it's almost like building something but being able to still tell a story. But at the end of the day, if I had to choose like to never write a book again or only produce, I would definitely choose writing. But I really, really love producing. There's something that feels like writing that first chapter on Wattpad when it comes to producing and building a story and working on a story that's already built, but adapting it to a different form. Especially other authors' books is way more fun than adapting my own.
What are you currently working on?
I I can't say titles exactly, but I have been sort of silently behind the scenes acquiring other authors' works for a little over 3 years now. They're in different phases of development. One of them has a screenwriter already, or two of them have screenwriters. Two of them are sold to studios. That will be probably 2023 is like every month is going to be something announced, but one of them has a cast attached. So I'm working on a lot of film stuff, to be honest. That's kind of been my focus. I'm currently in the end phase of editing the Falling sequel, which is called The Burning. Yeah. So the one after that, and working on, because I have a co-imprint with Wattpad. So now it's all the business stuff too. So now we're also working on like year-end meetings and acquisitions and who's our next author that's not me. So I'm working on quite a bit, but some of these things I've been working on for years. I just, especially when it comes to film and stuff, you can't say a word until,
Yeah.
yeah. But writing wise, I've been working on The Burning, which is mentally very, very taxing for me because it's a lot of just trauma and things or my own that I'm putting into my books.
I love The Falling. I just, if you guys have not read it, I have it pulled up below. You can grab it right now and start reading it on whichever form that you read. And definitely follow Anna here on Amazon so when she does have something come out, you won't miss out and you'll get notified. I heard that you also have the second cover, or you've seen it, or I don't know if when is it going to be shown, the second one for after the graphic
I
novel?
think actually within like the next 2 weeks or so. Like right now, we're just doing tiny tweaks on like color, or I want a little bit darker of this color. But oh, the graphic novel has been such a
It
fun.
is beautiful. It
Thank
is so
you. It's just been so like it's yeah, it's just been way more fun and interesting, and as a reader, I love it. So like even like not just because it's my story, but it's like as a reader, I wish all of my favorite romances were turned into graphic novels.
Do you feel like you have more stories in you and series of your own?
Definitely. Too many, I think, is kind of my problem. I'm always like, can I just clone myself? But
Yeah.
I recently, I wish I could say titles, but I can't say a title, but I have a standalone novel that, and I usually, as everyone knows, and as you said, you read my stuff, I've never written really a standalone. Even the Spring Girls, I have like a almost finished sequel to that I just have put on the shelf for a while. But I have a standalone that's completely new characters, completely new story, completely new setting, that I'll be announcing in the next couple months. That's been really a nice break from the heaviness and the realness of The Falling and that series, which is very I'm never gonna write like a rom-com. I just don't have it in me. I love to read them, but I can't, I'm just not my brain is not wired for rom-coms and happy love stories, but I really love this other story that I'm working on that's totally unrelated. So I have a lot of too many stories, I think, in me.
Oh, never too many. Never too many. I always like to ask our authors, what are you currently reading right now? If you have time.
I
Sounds like you're
yeah.
so busy.
So for a while, I was in the kind of like a reading slump. But lately I realize just in general, my mental health if I don't find time to read, it definitely affects me. Not only because I think, in my opinion, for me to write stories that I really believe in, I have to read, because it's like being a doctor, but you're not paying attention in medical school. It's like, it doesn't work that way. And so then I had been putting off, Cassandra Clare is my favorite living author. I absolutely love Cassandra Clare. And she had this book that it came out almost a year ago at this point, called Chain of Iron. That is a sequel to a different book in the same series. Like, I'm not sure if you've heard of like the Shadowhunter series or Mortal Instruments. So since I was like 18 years old, have always made it a point to always read Cassandra Clare's books as soon as they come out. And I realized this one, I hadn't read it and I hadn't finished it, which for me, not that everyone should gauge their mental capacity or health on their reading list, but that definitely, like, for me not to finish my favorite author's book is like something, I'm overworking myself. I need to like slow it down. I need to take time to finish it. So I finished Chain of Iron recently. I also, just for like self-care day, went to the bookstore like 3 weeks ago and got a couple books to read. But Kennedy Ryan has a book coming out really soon. I think like next week, actually, or some very soon.
Yep.
I feel like
Before I do.
or Before I Let Go,
Before I Let Go. Yes.
yeah.
Go. Yeah.
That book, oh my gosh. She's been one of my favorite authors for a while, but that book really, that's the kind of book that for me that I read that I'm like, yeah, that's why I want to be a writer. It's that kind of book that you're like, this is why, because I felt so emotionally attached and so into the story. And it just dealt with like, I feel like sometimes as a reader, I'm not talking as a writer, but as a reader, when there's a popular book, 30 people try to make the exact same book, the exact same cover, the exact same plot. And I get it. That's like how people follow trends and make money and blah, blah, blah. But for me, I want to read new stories. I don't want to read the same story over and over and over and over, unless it's like a fan fiction of Pride and Prejudice, because I'll read those until I die. But I felt like there was like this trend that a lot of people were following that was the exact same book over and over and over. And this book, I'm like, wow, I've never read something like this. And it has all the tropes that I love, like shared bed, forced proximity, second chance romance, like has all the tropes that I love, but it still felt so new and so real, and it talked a lot about mental health and therapy, which sometimes in romance, because of we're creating an escape, we don't necessarily always talk about the like rawness of our emotions. So
Yeah.
I would definitely highly, highly recommend that. I also bought, who's the author? Who's the author? It's called You've Reached Sam. It's a YA kind of romance.
Just that.
Yes. So good. Yeah, I sent my list of
Yep. 24
like
Hours
Jenny.
in Paris, you said.
Yeah.
And Memories by Leave. Bones and All by Camille D. Angelis. Almond. It starts
Almond is also one of those books that like just like every human should read. It's not romance, but it's very much like, it's almost like The Alchemist. Like everyone should read it just for like, I don't know. It's incredible.
Oh, I will add that to my list. Before I Let Go is on my Kindle. I got it from NetGalley, and I'm in a writer mode, so I haven't had time to read. But now you talked me into it. It's going to the top of the list.
It's so good.
So good. I always like to ask our authors, what are you watching right now?
I'm watching Currently, because I'm also in writer mode, I've just been playing Friends from the beginning in the background, because it's like the only thing that I can not, like, I've seen so many times that like I'm not going to get distracted by. But I recently watched My Policeman, the movie. Absolutely beautiful movie. I watched Don't Worry, Darling. Was the last theater time I went to the movie theater. I watched a series called Legend of the Blue Sea, which is a Korean series that I've already seen, but it's one of those stories that like literally the more you watch it, the more you're like, oh, it's really complicated. So rewatching it, I thought, oh, I'm just going to rewatch it because I don't have time to start something new, but it was absolutely brilliant. Um, I'm trying really hard to not start any new series. Like there's a bunch of series I want to watch, Tell Me Lies, like a bunch of series that but I just, if I start a series, my editor is absolutely going to kill me. Or like, I don't have time.
I hear you. I hear you. So many good things out there, so many good books out there. What advice would you have for an aspiring author, someone who has on their heart to write or maybe doesn't understand like that release that you talked about when you put those chapters out on Wattpad? There really is nothing like that when you find your purpose and you know this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how this looks. I'm not even sure I'm qualified to do this, but I'm here and this feels right. What would you have? What advice would you have for an aspiring author?
I mean, I feel like now, fortunately, we're getting more and more into having more paths. Like, even when I was first published, there was only a few ways to do it. You either get some big five who, no offense to them, like, or now I think there's only four, but whatever. You have to, your whole future, your self-esteem as a writer, all of this is tied up to one person's opinion sitting in an office somewhere who at the end of the day usually doesn't really, their life purpose is not to like always publish the best books. Like there's some editors of course that do, but I feel like a lot of my author friends have really, met that one editor who was having that bad day and it totally destroyed their self-esteem. It made him think like, oh, I shouldn't be a writer. And it's like, no, that person is just not your editor. Like that person's not made for you. And now there's so many Facebook groups. There's so much conversation going around. Especially the I don't want to say the female only community, but the romance community and the women and anyone who identifies all the things. There's so many resources. Um, it seems harder at first. The first like book that you put out or the first time you write a chapter is absolutely the hardest. Um, there's no right way anymore. It's like people, that's the thing that I love about things like Wattpad or Amazon, where nobody gets to decide except for the readers. Like, I mean, yeah, you can pay for ads and all this stuff to make your book more visible, but even that, there's advice that you can get from other authors on how to do that correctly or how to get the best optimization for your ads. But it's becoming way more of a democracy. So if somebody tells you no, it's like, you don't go, for me, I always speak in analogies, but like if I want to cut my hair, I'm not going to go to one friend and say, hey, should I cut my hair? And if they say yes, I'm going to chop my hair off. It's like, no, I'm going to go to three friends and then I'm going to ask a hairstylist and then I'm going to look on Reddit and see if people are cutting the hair. Like, it's just, there's so many doors, there's so many possibilities. All it takes literally to be a writer is to write words. Like there's no rules, there are, but there doesn't have to be. If you feel like you have a story to tell, you do. Like it's that simple. And don't let yourself, because usually, especially for like me and a couple of writer friends I know who are massively successful, who it took a while, but that's the name of the game, is in the beginning, we always think that it's so hard, so you don't even try because you're like, if I fail, it just adds to the layer of like, I shouldn't have done this. But just, it sounds so corny, but literally just keep going. There's always another door. There's always another way. All you have to do is write to be a writer.
That is fantastic advice. Where else can we find you and follow you and support you online?
Um, I mean, I'm all over the place. um, I'm not really on TikTok. Like I post a video every once in a while, but I can't, I'm just like not cool enough or not tech savvy
That's
enough
not
to do
true.
the TikTok stuff. It's like every time I'm like, oh, this one was great. It's like a coffee shop or like BTS. So it has absolutely nothing to do with my books. But I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I'm really active on both of those. My Facebook is more of just kind of like movies I love and quotes I love and other romances that I love. But Instagram is kind of where I have like more direct conversation with my readers and audience. Um, Goodreads, I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, I'm absolutely not touching it. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I love Goodreads. This is great. So I would probably say Instagram and Facebook are my main things. Depending on what the heck is going on with Twitter, I don't know how much longer I'll be on Twitter, but here we are. So Instagram and Facebook, I would say are my two biggest places. And both of those are just Anna Todd.
And also, everyone be sure to follow Anna Todd here on Amazon so you don't miss out on her upcoming books. One of the comments in the chat is, one of the questions in the chat is, are you planning on going on a book tour anytime soon, inside or outside the US?
Definitely. We've been especially planning outside of the US because usually, even since my very first book was published, I've traveled internationally like over half of the year, usually every year. So it's been really just, I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say it's been hard to not be able to travel the world, but for me, it's like was so used to seeing my readers, hugging my readers, talking to them, hearing their stories, seeing them waiting with their books. It's like, it's just a different experience for me than sitting. I'm not a solitary writer by any means, which is why I wrote my first series on a public platform. I'm not a like hide and write kind of person. I did do a US book tour over the summer for The Falling, and it was incredible. It was so fun. But I am definitely missing out on just outside of the US because most of my readers are from outside of the US. Like probably 90% of them are outside of the US. So yes, definitely planning it. I can't give details yet, but absolutely 2023, I will see a lot of you, a lot of different countries.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was,
Oh, thank you.
you guys, grab her graphic novel. It is so much fun. My daughter, she's a teenager. She saw I was interviewing you today, and she goes, "Wait, what? Like
Oh, I love
in real life?"
Tell
And
her I said hi.
yeah, in real life. And she's like, "How do I explain this to people?" I'm like, "We can't. And we just can't. It's the world we live in now." So, you have big fans over here, and we
Thank
just thank you
you.
and love you for showing up on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Everybody
thank
grab
you.
her newest book. It's linked below, and you are going to love it. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks.
wonderful day.
You too.
All right,
Good
bye.
luck writing.
Thanks.
Bye.